What is up, guys? Welcome back to Just a Guy on My Lunch Break. My name is Corey, and I will be your host today. Before I get started reading over some comments and some questions that you guys may have, hit that subscribe button. That's your payment. This is a free service. It'll take you 2 seconds. You hit that subscribe button. You don't ever have to worry about it again, and then you can listen to my content or watch my content forever. That's a good deal. It's a good bargain, man. You know, I spend every day with you guys, at least 30 minutes or so. So that's the least you can do is hit that subscribe button. I would appreciate it. And I would do it for you guys. I swear I would. I'm going to get started on some of these questions. I have a few to go over today. And again, some of these are not questions. They're comments, you know, because I ask you guys, every time I do a video, I ask you guys, tell me your story. Tell me where you come from. Tell me a little bit about your past history, because as you know, it's empowering and it's liberating to sometimes get that shit off of your chest, right? As people who have abused substances for a lot of our lives, you know, that gets to be a heavy burden to carry at times. And unfortunately, you know, those people who love you most, like close family members and friends, oftentimes don't really understand the struggle, don't really understand what you're going through if they too have not also struggled with an addiction, you know. So I've said this a million times. Here's the problem with people. If they've never been addicted to something, then they can try to have empathy and they can be as empathetic as they are able to be, considering they've never been addicted to something. But their empathy only can go so far. Their understanding can only go so far because they've never dealt with it, right? To somebody who runs marathons, they can try to describe to you what it's like to run a marathon, but if you've never run a marathon, you'll never truly know how difficult it is to run a marathon, right? You've never done it, right? You have no personal experience to relate it to. Well, that's how it is when you try to talk to someone who's never suffered with drug addiction. You know, hey, this happens, makes you feel this way, it just really eats away at your life and your self-confidence, and they're sitting there, yeah, man, yeah, I understand. I mean, that makes sense, but they don't really understand. I mean, to a degree, and not saying they don't care about you and want the best for you, so they sit and listen and nod their heads and, you know, as though they are trying to somehow help you through it. But they've never been through it, they don't truly know. And that's what people who have had trouble with addiction often run into at times. Your close family members and friends who have not been through it can't fully understand you. And then the people who have experienced it and or are currently on drugs, their response is, oh, don't worry about it, man. Just hit this joint. You know, you'll be all right. You'll be all right. So, snort this line of Coke right here, man. You'll forget all about it in 10 minutes. No worries. Hey, man, drink a couple of these mixed drinks. And a conversation will be completely different in a few minutes. You know, I mean, it's true. I'm sorry, it's true. So you get it on both sides of the spectrum. We don't have anyone to talk to because a drug addict always just wants to get you high. Someone who's not a drug addict doesn't really fully understand, you know. So it feels good to unload that, to get it off your chest. That's where I come in. I'm not going to offer you drugs. I can't offer you drugs. Here, see if you can hand you some drugs through the phone. Oh shit, it's not working. Shit, it's not working. I can't give you any drugs. So this is a good place for you to get it off your chest, talk about it, tell a little bit about your story, your deepest, darkest secrets. And this is like Planet Fitness up in here, man. Judgment-free zone. Nobody's judging you, all right? So I'm going to read one from James E. Shavaria. Or maybe that's James Shavaria. This is the hardest part of this channel, is trying to pronounce people's names, and especially when it's, you know, when it's written like all together like that, like a call name. Let me see if I can get you guys to. Can you see it? Ah, you can't see it. Crap. It's backwards anyway. Never mind. Trying to see there, trying to get you guys to understand. You can't fully understand because you're not in my position. You're not sitting in my seat. You're not looking at these names. This is either James E. Shavaria or James Shavaria 6177. I apologize in advance for butchering your name because I'm quite sure I just did that. Great channel. People will always judge. Off hard drugs 18 months next Sunday after 15 plus overdoses. Wow, man. Wow. See, talked about levels on here. Being alive and well at 45 is definitely a blessing. Stay blessed. Oh, thank you so much for that comment. Wow. 15 plus overdoses. You know, what a blessing, man. You know, what a blessing that this person is still here. And again, I don't know if it's James or if it's James. I'm not sure. So this could be a woman or a man. So I'm not exactly sure who I'm talking to here or how to address this person. But I'm just going to say, what a blessing, you know, to have made it to 45 years old after 15 plus overdoses. That's just absolutely amazing. It says off hard drugs 18 months next Sunday. That is amazing. Absolutely amazing. I do want to ask, where are you currently at? You said off hard drugs, but I noticed you didn't say completely sober, which is fine. Most of us on here aren't completely sober. I'm maybe 12 days at this point sober. Like, you know, I can't sit in any judgment thrown on anybody else. Just not this past weekend, but the weekend before, I took a buttload of kratom, so I can't really say a lot. So there's no judgment here, but I did want to know, 18 months off of hard drugs, what were those hard drugs, and what are you doing now to, you know, navigate around that? Or are you taking something that's considered lighter? Are you a current user of kratom? What is it? You know, I'd like to know those things. We would like to know those things. We learn from one another on here. That's what we do, right? But anyway, thank you very much for that comment. At Ron 5309. That's not Ron, that's Ron. R-A-W-N. RLS is no joke too. The RLS and insomnia is brutal. For me, anxiety also came with trying to quit, and the anxiety and depression was intense. I had never experienced either in my life, and I'm no young buck. I'm kind of trapped in this because I don't like pharmaceuticals. So T has to be it for me, I suppose, until my state bans it, which they want to do. I go back and forth with it. For one, I love kratom. It helps me so much. On the other hand, I take about a kilo every 15 days while also taking extract several times a week. I have a good plug on the powder, so the cost isn't bad. If I split it into 4 bags, it's 120. If I go straight GMD or WMD, it's under 80. And it's good quality. My concern is what it's doing to my insides. When you let a couple tablespoons sit in a cup overnight and stir it in the morning, I assume that's what your body is fighting to push through the digestive system, which can't be good. After nearly 8 years of taking it, I'm leaning towards stopping soon, but that shit won't be easy. The withdrawal can be intense when you take the amounts that I take. It will have to be a long process for me. The only advice I would have, and then it cuts off. The only advice I would have for, and then it cuts off. Maybe Ron didn't finish that. Yeah, you know, and again, I will just expand on this by saying that I agree that the powder is, you know, probably not good for your insides, and I think that's probably one of the foremost concerns for most people who use kratom, including myself. But I do want to add to that I think a lot of that is relative. And what I mean by that is, if you're going to take kratom, and if you're one of those people who has you know, you've resigned, I guess, given up to the fact that you won't take it, and you've become accustomed to, well, okay, I'm just going to be a kratom user. And you know, again, and some people are out there using it for an actual condition, i.e. Major physical chronic pain that they have. I'd rather see somebody taking kratom than, you know, some high amount of Percocet or Oxycontin or something like that. But what I will add to this is, while I'm sure it's not great for the insides, I think that that is relative to the person taking it and things surrounding their diet and lifestyle. In other words, if you're a person who takes a bunch of kratom every day, you eat like shit, you eat all processed foods, no vitamins, no minerals, no fiber in your diet, you're in a constant state of dehydration, you only drink sodas, you don't drink any water, you know, you're not using little things like apple cider vinegar to like help detoxify and flush out your body, using vitamins to help flush out your body, water to help move that kratom through your system, fiber to help, like, you know, toxic poop and stuff not build up in your system, and you're helping to keep all, you're exercising to keep all of that stuff flowing. I think, in my opinion, that drastically diminishes a lot of the negative effects that it could have on your innards, your internal organs. Again, I'm no doctor, and I'm not in here trying to, you know, make excuses for anybody to continue use. That's up to you, and it's going to be up to you. So I'm not trying to make excuses, but I just know that there are people out there that are taking it, and they're going to take it, and nobody's going to tell them any different. And there are people out there who swear by the fact that they need it, that it's a miracle for them, that their life was just in complete and utter shambles before they found kratom, and it helps them with this issue, that issue, the other, you know. And so for those people, and for the people who just aren't going to stop, that's my advice to you. If you're going to take the kratom, make sure that you're surrounding the rest of your life with positive things. And I beat the shit out of this dead horse on here all the time. You guys know I do. Exercise as vigorous as you possibly can. Drink a ton of water every day to help flush all of that stuff out of your system, to keep your system moving. You know, keep your digestive system flowing and moving. If you sit around and you're sedentary and you're sitting on the couch all day scrolling through Facebook or TikTok or whatever it is you do, or playing video games, listen, there's nothing wrong with playing video games. There's nothing wrong with scrolling through TikTok. There's nothing wrong with sitting and listening to a YouTube video. But for me, I'm one of those people that believes that everything is about balance. Everything in life is about balance. You can't be doing too much of anything can be negative. Too much of anything can have negative consequences. I say this all the time. Vitamin C is good for you. But if you drink a whole gallon of orange juice, you're going to have diarrhea from hell. The sun is good for you, and the vitamin D that you can get from the sun is good for you. But if you stay out in the sun as a fair-skinned person for 6 hours on a 90-degree day without sunscreen, it's gonna suck. It's gonna be too much. And then it's gonna become a detriment to you. It's gonna become negative for you. And everything in life follows suit with that. Everything has to be done, you know, in an incremental, measured way. You know what I mean? Only do a little bit of social media. Or if you're going to listen to YouTube video, while you're listening to my video, put your earbud in and go to the gym. Or go walk around the block. Or if you're younger and in better shape, go run around the block. You know, do other things to help offset any detriment that the kratom could cause to your digestive system. And I'm one of those people that I think that if you take a moderate amount of kratom every day or week or whatever, and you're not just shoving it down every hour on the hour, and you're eating good foods, eating healthy, just like by example. I used to hear people talk about all the time how kratom constipated them. Kratom never constipated me, ever. Well, I'm not going to say ever. Certainly there were a couple of isolated instances where, I went a day or two and didn't eat that well, and I was on vacation and we ate out, didn't eat my usual, high fiber, high protein sort of diet. And then on top of it, I was taking extra kratom because I was on vacation, something like that. And there was a couple of times where I was like, damn, this thing ain't coming out very well. But in general, on a general basis, I never had any problem with that. But it's because with the kratom, I exercised, drank tons of water, ate tons of fruits and vegetables and fiber. And I'm telling you, if you do all of these other things and mix all of these other things into your regimen, if you're one of those people that's just going to take kratom, doesn't matter what I say, doesn't matter what your friends, your relatives say, doesn't matter what any medical source you see online says, you're going to take it regardless because you either have a good reason or you just don't give a shit what people say. You're going to take it. If you're one of those people and you fall into that category, fine. That's your choice as a grown-ass person and a grown adult. But make sure that you're doing other things healthily to help offset any possible negative effects. And I think that's important. If you're going to do something, if you're going to do something like take kratom on a regular basis, you owe it to yourself, you owe it to your body to make sure that everything else is in alignment. That's your one guilty pleasure, is the kratom. If you have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guilty pleasures where you take kratom all the time, and then you're bad about being sedentary and sitting around and playing video games or looking on your phone all the time. You're bad about sitting around and drinking sodas. You never get off your ass to do any sort of exercise. You'll take a TV dinner and a processed, everything that you eat comes out of a box and comes out of a package. No fruits, no vegetables, no anything. If you are mixing all of those detrimental lifestyle choices in with the kratom use, then I guarantee you that kratom use is going to be much worse for you than it will be for the next person who uses some kratom, but also eats healthy, also exercises, also takes vitamins and minerals, fruits and vegetables, drinks tons of water every day. It matters. It matters. Don't just focus on the kratom. Pay attention to the other lifestyle choices that you're making on a regular basis. Okay, that's what I have to say about that. At Tom Troy 3792 says, this technique is how I got off of methadone. I got down to 2.5 milligrams and it took me 15 years. Wow. 15 years to wean down from 115 milligrams a day because I had to do concrete work, and some days were harder and I had to up my dose on the easy days. I kept my dose as low as I could. I was lucky I retired at 62, collected Social Security, because I stayed in bed for about a month, moving my legs really fast. I'm assuming he's saying RLS, but I could feel it slowly getting better every day. I'm still not up to par completely, and it's been 2 years. I'm afraid to try to get off kratom. Since I started taking kratom, I've gotten my motivation back. I couldn't do anything when I was in withdrawal. My motivation never came back until I tried the red kratom. The green didn't seem to work. That's interesting because for me, the red just kind of made me tired. The green is really the only one I ever messed with. But again, everybody's different. And, here's what I'll say about this. To someone who's never been an addict and someone who has never gotten themselves locked into a habit of taking some sort of medication that's like an opiate on a regular basis, they would say, well, why do you need to have something else to get that motivation back? Why do you have to take the kratom to get your motivation back? Do things to develop your own motivation in life. And again, this goes back to, you can't really talk to people who haven't been addicted to something about this sort of thing, because that would probably be your answer. Well, don't take something else for it. But there's a reality. There's a reality for those of us out here, especially. Look at this. It took him 15 years. 15 years. That's 1/5 of a whole life. Right? Basically, it's 1/5 of a whole life just to wean down off of this. So, there's no telling how much time before that Tom was on something. So when you're talking about people that have spent, 10, 15, 20, some people 25, 30 years of their lives on these medications like this, or substances like this, a lot of times they don't know how to do without it. They don't know how to live without it. And then a lot of times there's a very long road to recovery. So I get it, man. A lot of people just, they probably get a month into it, 2 months, 3 months into the sobriety, and they're just like, damn, this is worse than I thought. This is harder than I thought. I experienced it. As a 47-year-old guy, and it's probably been, I talked about this the other day, it's probably been, I was probably in my early 20s the last time I was completely sober, in terms of not taking something regularly on a daily basis, right? And so that definitely happened for me. And I'm a person with a positive mindset, good work ethic. I'm good with exercising. I'm good with eating a healthy diet. I try to do all of the right things outside of any substance use. But that still, I found that very difficult, and that's one of the reasons it was tough for me to put kratom down. And again, I'm still only less than 2 weeks completely off of it again. But because I always found that if you take kratom in a responsible sort of way, and you're not just shoving scoops in your mouth every hour on the hour, and you dose on it a couple of times a day, maybe a few times a day, but you don't do it in between, those times, I always found that I got pretty good benefits from it. It kept me motivated throughout the day, kind of kept me inspired to work a little harder, and to focus on my job and just life a little more. And I didn't have a lot of negative impacts of that. And the negative kickbacks came for me when I started using the MIT extracts, and it got my tolerance to the point where I was just getting sleepy taking it. And that's when it became apparent to me, like, oh bro, this ain't good for you anymore. This is now become a detriment for you, right? And so so I get where Tom is coming from with that. And I will just say, he says here, I'm afraid to try and come off of the kratom since I started taking the kratom. If you're interested in coming off, take it slow, just like you did. I wouldn't say 15 years. That might be a little too slow. That's probably bordering on just, I still want to take it, so I'm going to extend it out as long as I can. Kratom is not one of those things that you have to take that amount of time to come off of it. But, I did a taper that took me, coming down from maybe 15 to 20 grams per day. I did a taper that took me, 3 weeks, a month? And it honestly was not bad. It's not that bad. If you exercise through it, if you only knock it down by like a gram or so every 3 or 4 days, and you can take some things at night like some magnesium, some kava, some things like that to kind of help you rest at night a little bit, kind of help with the RLS a little bit and so forth. If you can do that and stay with it and stick with it, really was not that bad. I mean, the worst part of it is just contending with like the lower mood, not necessarily having the same drive and vigor about life, and the whole go-getter sort of drive that kratom tends to give you, right? That was the hardest part. The physical withdrawals were just almost a non-issue, to be completely honest with you. But slow and steady wins the race, my dude. So if you are interested in coming off, I have a kratom taper playlist on here. You can go to my playlist, and there it is. It has all of the videos starting with when I started to taper, all the way to the point where I came completely off, and then I was completely off for almost a month. And you can look at those videos and kind of see how I did it and how I went about it. And again, I don't land on one side of the fence on here. You guys know this, right? If you're a person who's been on something all of your life and you have found Kratom and you're able to use it somewhat responsibly and you're being healthy outside of it and it's a good life balance for you and you feel like you have found the thing that you can stomach living with, that gives you joy and makes you complete in your life, then who am I to tell you you can't do that to be happy? I wouldn't. I'm just here to help you change what you see you need to change, okay? If you don't see it and you don't have any desire to change it, then I'm not here to try to change you. That's not what I do, man. That's not what I do, because if one thing I've learned in this life and one thing I've learned by doing this channel, everybody's at a different place and everybody doesn't feel the same way about it. You know, you can get 1, 2, 3, 4 people standing in the same room, all of them who have taken Kratom and or had some sort of an addiction to opiates or Kratom, and all 4 of them are going to have different views on different aspects of Kratom use. You know, some of us share the same views, but they're a little different. Some of us have completely different views on it. So I'm not going to sit here and tell anybody, well, you're wrong, you need to be completely off of it. Nah. Because there's people out there that swear by the fact that it's a miracle for them. They're finally, for the first time in their lives, living a full, happy life, and it's thanks to Kratom. And, you know, who am I to tell you that you're wrong for feeling that way? I don't know you. I don't know what your personal struggle has been throughout your life. So I would never do that. And I will always cease to be judgmental of people who say they have, you know, found something that is, I guess, the key that opens the door to happiness for them. Let me go through a couple more. At Janelle, I think this is Janelle. June? Man, his name GeannelEjeune, 1983. What would you guys say that name is? Janelle Ejeune? I know I'm butchering it. I'm sorry. Some of these I think aren't people's actual names. People are just kind of maybe typing their first name and then part of their second name or what. I don't know. I'm not sure, but I'm sorry for butchering these names. But you know who I'm talking about. If that's your profile name, you know it's you. That's what matters. My problem is the tianeptine. Tianaptine. I had to look this up. I was not sure what that was. I started with Kratom until I felt it wasn't working for me. The guys at the vape shop told me to try Pegasus Gold. I had no idea what I was getting into. This stuff is way stronger than Kratom. I call it the devil. I'm trying to get off of it now and completely miserable. Man, I'm sorry to hear that. I had never actually heard of it, to be completely honest. Tianeptine. I'm not sure how to pronounce that either, but apparently it has a opiate sort of flavor to it, but it's what they consider a fast-acting like antidepressant. I think you can buy it online. She said she bought it in a vape shop. I've never seen anything like that in the vape shops here. I don't know where you're from. I'm from North Carolina. Probably a good thing I haven't seen it. Based on what she's saying here, I probably need to stay away from that. This guy probably needs to stay away from that, you know. And I've had that conversation before. I still remember the first time I discovered Kratom, you know. Looking back on that, I mean, it's too late now because I've tried it. But looking back on that experience when I was on vacation a few years ago and I learned what Kratom was, you know, I wish I would have just been like, okay, well, based on what I'm reading about this substance, I probably shouldn't take it, because I already know if it does work and it does have an opiate type effect, then I mean, I'm going to be falling down the rabbit hole as soon as I take my first dose. I already know, and I should have known that. And there are times where I wish I'd made a different choice, but I have a very bittersweet feeling about Kratom, because when I take Kratom responsibly and all other things are firing on all cylinders, and my exercise is good, my relationships are good, and my diet is good, and just when everything in my life is going how I need it to go and I'm able to control it, Kratom was a godsend for me in a lot of ways. Kept my mood lifted, kept me I would say it made me a much, much harder worker. I've always been a hard worker. But Kratom took me there, man. I'm ready to fire on all cylinders when I'm taking that stuff. And that's something that not taking it, I kind of struggle with a little bit, and I do struggle a little bit with the low mood and the kind of depression sort of thing, so I get it. So Joylyn Francis left one as well. She said, since Kratom keeps you awake, how long does it take at night to get back to sleep? She wanted to ask me a couple of questions. Kratom doesn't keep me awake. I have heard people say that. Yeah, I don't have that experience with it. Kratom, to me, it gives me energy when I'm up kind of moving around doing stuff. But then when I lay down, and I've eaten some dinner and I've gone and I've exercised for that day, by the time I lay down, in my opinion, it actually helps me to go to sleep. But I do know what you're talking about, because I have heard people say that it kind of messes up your sleep patterns. I don't know if it messes up sleep patterns in the way that kind of alcohol does, where it kind of chops up and messes up your REM sleep and keeps you from really going fully over the edge into deep sleep. I don't know if that's what they mean, or if it's supposedly a result of the stimulant sort of effect from Kratom, because you do know that Kratom is one of those that has a stimulant effect and a euphoric effect, kind of all at the same time, right? And that's one of the reasons people like it, because you get a little bit of both of that. Kratom doesn't keep me awake. The only time I've ever had problems sleeping as it relates to Kratom is when I was taking a certain amount, and then I either stopped completely or tapered pretty heavily, or didn't take nearly as much one day. I would kind of start having some withdrawals that kept me awake, but that was actually from taking less Kratom than what I had been taking. So for me, Joy, Kratom has never kept me awake. It's actually always helped me to sleep some. And she says here, did I hear you say you were taking Xanax at one time? No, I've never, I can't say never. I have taken Xanax before, but I've never been addicted to Xanax. I've never taken Xanax on a regular basis. In fact, I haven't had a Xanax in probably 7 years, 8 years, maybe. When I first met my wife, at the time where I met my wife, she had a prescription for Xanax, which she doesn't take it anymore either. But she was taking it because my wife, at one point in her life before me, was in an abusive relationship with her first husband. And I mean physically abusive. And so she needed Xanax and something like that during that time, because she was in a bad situation with a very mean-spirited, angry-hearted, ex-husband. But shortly after she met me, she still had the Xanax, and she would take them every once in a while if she got super stressed out about something, or we were driving in like a big city or something. But then she just ultimately let the prescription expire, and then didn't get any more. I think that I'm a result of that. She didn't need the Xanax anymore, because I'm a good husband to her, and I love her, and I think she felt protected and just didn't have the general anxiety that she had in her first marriage. So at least that's what she told me. She's like, I don't need the Xanax anymore. So I took a few of hers when she had that, but that was 7-8 years ago. I haven't taken a Xanax in a long time. I haven't had a Xanax ever since I've discovered Kratom, and that's been, what, 4.5 years ago now. So the answer to that is no. And she says here also, did Kratom help, and how did you taper the Xanax? Yeah, sorry, I don't have an answer for that, Joy. I've never had to taper Xanax. Again, I've taken maybe 20 Xanaxes in my whole life, and that was like, one a day for a few weeks or whatever when my wife had that prescription of them. But I've never had a prescription of them my own. I've never gone and like bought them on the street. So I hear Xanax withdrawal is deplorable. I hear that is just horrific. I don't know from experience, but I have heard that. So that's a good question. Guys, all of you who have been taking Xanax and have some experience with Xanax, especially if you've gotten kind of hooked on it and you've had to come off of it or taper off of it, drop Joy a comment down below and let her know what your experience was with it. I gotta go, guys. I love you. Subscribe to the channel. Put a like on it and comment. Let me know what your story is. You never know, you might be featured on my channel here. I want to read this as parting. Setting and working towards goals can help you take back what you lost, giving you additional motivation to remain sober. Choose large goals, but then break them up into smaller goals. For example, if you want to run a marathon, you can't start running the whole thing just because you used to do it. Break up goals. Make large goals, but then break them up into small ones. This is something that will help keep you sober, give you things to work for, keep your mind off of the substances and on to this goal and that goal and that goal. But make sure you break them up into small goals so that you can achieve those goals. You don't want to have a feeling of defeat where you say, well, I'm going to run a marathon because I did at one point in my life and I'm planning on doing that by next week. Nah, bro. Slow and steady. Slow and steady. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Go here and then go there. You start by putting on your running shoes. All right. Love you guys. See you next time. Peace.